Congressman Ro Khanna was on our program today doing a national town hall meeting. He took a call on the need to produce a workers' bill of rights. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Khanna is with us to take your calls for the hour. We're going to do a national town hall meeting. If you have calls for the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the guy who represents Silicon Valley, the 17th District of California, in the U.S. House of Representatives, give us a shout, 202-808-9925. His website is Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov, and you can tweet him at Rep, as in Representative, Ro, R-O, Khanna, K-H-A-N-N-A. Congressman Khanna, welcome back to the program. Number one, what's on your mind? What do you see as the priority of things that we should be paying attention to? And then number two, what's going on with Congress these days?
Well, Tom, it's great to be back on. Seems like you've got a great lineup today. David Sirota and I worked very closely together on the Bernie Sanders campaign, and Dean Obeidallah is great. So congratulations on that.
David and I go all the way back to Air America days. We've known each other for decades. He's a good guy.
Well, he wrote some of Bernie's best speeches. I mean, I can brag a little bit for him because he's modest. But we're completely focused on the House bill. We may have a vote on it as early as Friday, or certainly early next week. And the question is, what's going to be in that bill? I've been pushing for three basic things. First, we need a massive infusion to states and localities. I mean, in my home state of California, $54 billion budget deficit. This is going to mean possible cuts in education, possible cuts in services, right at the time that people need it most. It's hard to overstate how devastating it is, and the federal government needs to step up in a big way to make up the gap. Second, we need monthly checks, $2,000 checks to people who can't make the rent, can't make mortgage. And then third, Senator Warren and I have been pushing for an essential workers' bill of rights, which is basically common sense that workers should have protection and safety. But let's see what makes it into the final version of the bill.
Yeah, I just got a note from a friend in Australia. In fact, I'm going to read the letter at greater length next hour, in which she says that she lives there. She's an American, and her kids live there. And she said that her son was laid off, and so now he's getting $3,000 a month from the government until the crisis is over. It's just very straightforward, very clean, works very well. But I'm hearing that, and I'm seeing in the conservative press, particularly in my almost daily emails from FreedomWorks and the Trump campaign and whatnot, that Republicans are going to strongly object to any effort to give average Americans more money. I mean, Mitch McConnell has said that his number one priority is making it impossible for American workers and customers to sue companies if they engage in practices that put those people's lives at risk. How are you guys going to deal with this?
Well, I think the first thing to McConnell is to say, well, why don't you have a workers' bill of rights then? Okay, if you want to provide a safe harbor for companies, then they have to comply with basic protections. How can you say they can't be sued and then we're not going to have any regulations on how they have to treat with workers? So it's a non-starter, absent an essential workers' bill of rights, to have immunity. The second thing I find so odd is it's almost like McConnell either is indifferent to Trump's political fate or doesn't care about the economy. I mean, you would think the incumbent party in the White House would want more stimulus and more aid, because every economist understands that's the best shot of keeping the economy from cratering. And the fact that he's not willing to help states, and it's not just California, I mean, states like Louisiana, some of the battleground states, just shows either they're so blindly ideological that they're not looking at their own political interest, or McConnell may not care about Trump's fate. I mean, but it's hard to understand.
Do you think it's possible there's a third option, and that is that Donald Trump has concluded that the only way he's going to get reelected is if he can get the economy restarted, that restarting the economy will ignite a second wave of the virus. But if he's lucky, that second wave really won't hit badly until after the election. And so if he and McConnell can essentially force, blackmail, bribe, pick your word, these states, including red states, into just going back to life as normal, completely blowing the doors open and opening all up, that, Trump thinks that's his best plan for winning, and McConnell seems to be going along with it. Do you think that's possible?
I think that's absolutely right, Tom. I think you nailed it in terms of what their motive is. The question, though, is why is he resisting the resources to the states? Because even if they do the economy opening up, and I think they're indifferent to what this is going to mean in terms of increased death tolls, even if they push this, even if they're kind of hoping that the second wave or death tolls don't come before November, there's still the point that a lot of states are going to be having massive cuts in services, massive cuts in benefits. And I guess Trump has bought into the ideological argument that this is something that's going to only help blue states. But I wonder if they're miscalculating the amount of despair and misery and damage that is out there, and the need for further government response.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I'm sorry, I have talked too much. We have only 55 seconds here until we're going to hit a hard break. So let me ask you one last question. How do you see the public health aspect of this playing out? Do you think that we're ever going to get the kind of testing and contact tracing nationwide that we're seeing has worked so well in New Zealand, Australia, South Korea, Taiwan, the countries that have crushed the virus?
I hope so. I mean, I think that there are a few barriers to it. First, the barrier is that we don't have enough equipment. We don't have enough of the production for the Abbott tests or for the swabs. And that's why Senator Sanders and I introduced a bill giving resources to get this equipment manufactured. And second, we don't have guidelines.